Ooh, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Let's be real. There are no ladies in this broadcast. There are only gentlemen viewing this because competitive Pokemon. Not really the best place to look for ladies, but it doesn't matter. It does not matter. What does matter are these UDL playoff games that I will be presenting to you today because, hey, who doesn't like playoffs? Who doesn't like draft format? Well, I answered that before. Ladies do not like draft format, and I'm not speaking about all ladies because I'm sure you may know a girl or two or maybe one and a half because the half is someone who's posing as a girl online. But hey, like I said, it does not matter because at the end of the day, we're going to have some fun going over some high quality United Draft League playoff games. I am one of your commissioners, Matty Brolick, my buddy Carson. He wasn't around when I initially tried to record this stuff, so I'm just doing this on my own here, but a brief little backstory on what happened to my live recordings, because I actually was attempting to record these games live, and I actually got this one live first, the one that you see right in front of you. That was the first one that was played, and I was there to record it, and I actually got the recording of that one, and I was going to upload it, and then I was recording the second game that was actually happening pretty soon afterwards, and I was right about to finish the video. I was literally saying goodbye to everyone in the outro, and my computer just died. Like, not power-wise, like, it just had that, like, blue screen with the sad face where there's an error message, so I lost the recording, and I wasn't around for the other two games to record them, so I just figured, you know what, let me just record these all in the replays really quickly. As much as live games can be kind of cool because you get to see my live reaction, live games are kind of long, so I think that just condensing this all into a bunch of quick playoff replays might serve you a little better, as it won't take up as much of your time and you'll still get to see the results of the games. So I know that the people watching this are probably only, if definitely mostly, UDL people at the very least, but regardless, I wanted to do something for the league just to kind of, I don't know, just show you guys the appreciation I have for the league so far. Everything's been really great. I know we haven't had the best activity throughout the season, but a lot of people are burned out from Gen 7, and even though we're excited for Gen 8, it's just kind of hard with a lot of people going back to school, a lot of people having full-time jobs and such, to get the games done on time every week. But at the end of the day, it was a lot better than it could have been, and the people in the playoffs especially were the people that I could rely on the most for the most part, so that is cool. Shout outs to all you guys. You know who you are. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I just wanted to pay some respect by putting all these playoff games out there and just talk a little bit about the games as well as the coaches playing in them. So how the UDL is structured, for those of you who may be an outsider, it is a 24-team league that is comprised of two separate conferences, both with 12 teams each, and in each conference, 6 teams make it. So half of each conference, half of the entire league, make playoffs basically. But the top 2 in each division do get a first-round bye, so everyone will compete to be the champion of their own conference, and then the 2 conference champions will go and play in like a true finals, or almost like a Super Bowl sort of games. So I tried to make it a little more sports-oriented. And what I will be showing you guys today are the first round playoff games for both the X and the Y conference. Like I said, the top 2 teams from each got a bye, so this is the first round. The winners of these games will go on to face the coaches who received byes. The ones who did manage to get the byes in the X conference were John W. and Ben, and then in the Y conference it was myself and Gypsy King. He had a little bit of a better differential than I did, so he gets the 1 seed, I get the 2 seed. And I think John was the 1 seed in the X conference, whereas, because it was John versus Ben in the last game of the season, so the winner of that was John, and he ended up getting the 1 seed, but it didn't really matter, as both of them had byes. So anyway, this is the first game that was played out of the playoffs. I'm just going to do them in order of when they were played, and this one was Klover 48, otherwise known as Parker, and versus Evan and his Brighton Bewares. That's his team name. and these guys are both of the Y Conference. They really played their butts off this season, and I think they surpassed a lot of people's, including their own expectations. They did really well, and I was happy for them that they both made playoffs, because they were two people that I could rely on throughout the season to get their games done for the most part, and they just, like I said, played really well. They really deserve to be here, and it's a first-time matchup between the two because they didn't get to play during the season, so that should be interesting. So I did record this one live, but like I said, I'm just going to upload them all in a replay video and try to condense it a little bit. So we'll just get right into it, because I know this was kind of a long intro. But anyway, here we go. Hope you guys just sit back, pay attention, learn something about Pokemon, as the great legendary Merc would say, and enjoy. So we're going to start this game off, and Parker leads with his Alomomola, as Evan leads with the Ferrothorn, and he's just going to go right for his Stealth Rocks, get his hazards up from the beginning, as Parker's going to get up his own rocks with the Gliscor, as it looks like Evan is just able to click Leech Seed here, and is now going to go for a Spike, which is really, really nice considering how big of threats things like Metagross and Zeraora are on Parker's team, so being able to wear those down with the hazards is really nice. So here, Evan's just going to stay in and click Power Whip, as Parker actually goes right into his Aloe, and this is going to do a big chunk, as I mentioned in the previous video. I don't know what kind of roll that is on an Aloe, like I don't know if he's Spadef or Fizdef, I didn't calc it myself, but this is what's really nice about the hazards here. As you can see, Metagross already at 82, which is definitely nice, as this Talonflame, if it's boosted, could probably knock it out with a Flare Blitz or something. But the Talon just ends up going for a U-turn and brings in the Ferrothorn again, which definitely puts a lot of pressure on Parker's team. But Parker goes hard into Decidueye here, which is a good play, because as you can see, all of his 4 moves have been revealed here. So at the very worst case scenario, pretty much he gets up another layer of spikes, as a Power probably wouldn't do too much to the Decidueye. But here is where things take a pretty crazy turn, because Evan's kind of sitting in the driver's seat, and he goes hard into his Muck, which is like a pretty solid check, as it resists Decidueye's dual stabs, as he goes for Swords Dance. And now a Baton Pass is fairly predictable here, but what Parker does is something that I didn't even know was something that, like, it was just something I wasn't even aware that you could do, because I wasn't really familiar with what this move does. He has Z eligibility on his Decidueye, and here he actually goes for a Z Feather Dance, which is really cool. Gets +1 defense, and then Feather Dance's normal effect is to half the attack, or just, I guess, sharply lower the attack of your opponent. And doing that plus getting a +1 defense boost is crazy, because look at his potential things that he could pass to. Gliscor, which with Toxic Heal and Taunt could obviously be an amazing stall breaker against this kind of fat team. Zeraora, which outspeeds Evan's whole team. And then obviously Mega Metagross, which has insane coverage, amazing bulk, is something going to be really, really scary. And I think Evan's play here, I don't know if I would definitely say it's a misplay, because I don't know what his team had exactly, but I think what he should have tried to do was bring in something that would lure in the Zeraora instead of the Metagross here, as he goes for the Pursuit, and now here, I guess predicting the Baton Pass, he goes into his Unaware Clefable. But the thing is, his Unaware Clefable kind of forces Parker to go into his Metagross, because the Zeraora at +2 won't be able to do anything to Unaware Clefable. So the main thing he's got is the Metagross, and he goes right into that. And it kind of just turns out that Evan doesn't really have anything for this Metagross here, as it is at +1 defense and +2 attack. It goes right for the Meteor Mash, and that does 43 to a Ferrothorn. And it's not looking too good, as now he's just able to go right for the Brick Break, and he doesn't get Flame Body burned. I mean, I don't know if he was Flame Body or Gale Wings there, but he doesn't get Flame Body burned, and this Donphan actually does get knocked out. I kind of feel like that Donphan couldn't have been max defense, as Donphan's really bulky. I'm not quite sure if a Jolly Mega Metagross would knock out Donphan, but he could also be adamant, so I'm not sure what the spreads were there and whatnot, as here he's going to just bring in his Clefable, and it's looking like good game, because he does hit the Meteor Mash, and now he brings in his Latias, which is also in range of Meteor Mash here, and he does outspeed the Latias, so I feel like there's a good chance he was Jolly. Here comes the Muck, and he could just click Brick Break for these last 2 Pokemon, so we actually see a 6-0 in the very first the very first playoff game in UDL history. So that was something that I don't think anybody was really expecting. Like I said, Evan really had a good season, so he was very understandably disappointed with how it went, but that's Pokemon at the end of the day, or draft format in particular, where you really have to prepare for everything your opponent can throw at you, or else a strategy like this can really come out of nowhere and surprise you. Now, a quick little note on baton pass in this league. What we allow and don't allow are dry pass, as well as boosting stats with baton pass, except for a stat boost and speed. So you can't, let's say, like, go for a Swords Dance with Gliscor and then go for an agility on top of that and pass it, but you could go for like a bulk up and a Calm Mind on something and then pass that. You just can't pass speed plus another stat, which is a pretty common rule in leagues. And you also can't pass speed boosts from a Pokemon with the ability speed boost, because that's just too easy. You could constantly protect and sub and shenanigans like that. But we do allow things like baton pass chains, which one of our playoff coaches, someone who got a bye in the X conference, is Ben, who showed us how dangerous baton pass could be this season, and obviously Parker here showing us just how dangerous baton pass can be. So I think it is something that we need to have a conversation about, as it definitely has caused a bunch of people games, but at the same time, I feel it also was kind of on them for being completely unprepared for baton pass. So it definitely is a conversation worth having. But at the end of the day, I do like having the option to baton pass, because that makes so many Pokemon a lot more viable. And I feel like baton pass strategies can actually be pretty innovative and cool. But as far as chains go, I think we'll ban those. But as far as like stat boosting pass, I'm not exactly sure if we'll ban it, but I think we should definitely talk about it. So yeah, definitely a very impressive win by Parker. He makes a huge statement here, as he's actually going to play Gypsy King next week. So that could not have been any more possible momentum for him rolling into a game against Gypsy. I don't know if they've ever played before, so that should be interesting to see how that goes. Great season on Evan's part. I know he's disappointed, but he really did have a great season. He was kind of talking himself down the entire time, and before he knew it, he was clinched for playoffs. So, like, that just goes to show you never really know, and he really did play well. So I hope he enjoyed the season. He did great. And now we will move on to the next game that was played, which was actually Prime Dorkman, otherwise known as IceDemonGray, versus MaranVaran. Maran barely squeaked into the playoffs by getting a forfeit win from Carson in the last week, which allowed him to get in. Carson had already clinched, and he just had a lot of things going on in real life. But I'm happy that Maran did make it, because he was one of the people that I could always rely on to get his game done on time, and I really appreciate that. So I am happy that he was able to get in, because he was sort of like unsure towards the end. He wasn't doing as well. I think he was 2-4 going to the last 2 weeks of our 8-game season, and then he won his last 2, which helped him get in. So I'm sure that will help him put more effort in, as it's most likely his last Gen 7 league before Gen 8 comes out. So Ice has been doing really well all season. He has a Naga, which I also have on my team, and I am a very big fan of this Pokemon. I know Moran said he really does not match up well against it, so he's really afraid of it, and I don't blame him, because look at these teams, both very offensive brings, which is exactly what I like to see. Going to be a nice, fast, and offensive game, which we will get right into, as Ice leads with his Gigalith, getting up his Sand, and Moran leads with his Roserade. So the Roserade could obviously do a lot of damage to this Gigalith, but you're going to see here, he actually goes for a Hidden Power Ground, which still does a ton because he's Technician Life Orb, but Ice misses the Stone Edge, which matters a ton, because with Sand, I highly doubt that this Roserade would have been able to take another Stone Edge, or would have been able to take another round of Life Orb without fainting. If not, I feel like the Stone Edge might have just knocked it out, plus the Sand. So this really, really matters a lot, as you're going to see in these next coming turns. Ice is going to want to preserve his Sand and go into the Tangrowth. This HP Ground does 30 to the Tangrowth, so you could see that this is definitely not an Assault Vest or especially defensive Tangrowth, as a resisted move did 30%. And now he's going to proceed to just Leaf Storm in case he wanted to pivot into something like Excadrill on a Sludge Bomb, and that's able to actually just knock out the Tang. So Ice really had to sacrifice a lot here because he missed that Stone Edge, which is really, really unfortunate. So he goes right for the Flamethrower on the Muck, and Maran was really scared of this Naga, but it turns out he's actually got the Banded Muck, pursuits and takes him right out, and now Maran is in the driver's seat basically, as he's already eliminated 2 of Ice's Pokemon, and he still has his Roserade alive and fairly healthy if it wants to fire off more attacks. But now he makes really good use of his Magic Guard Sigilyph. Sigilyph or Sigilyph? I like Sigilyph better, but I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. By bringing a Rocky Helmet Sigilyph, because it probably would get 2-hit KO'd by return, even if it is Max Fizz Def. I don't know, I didn't look up the calcs. But I would imagine that it would, just because it's not that bulky, but it's pretty easy to pivot it in on a fighting move because that's just going to do 0 because it 4 times resists it. As you're going to see, a Power-Up Punch does 4, and it does 17% basically in return with a Rocky Helmet. So now you're going to see he gets the +1 attack, but he's pretty much going to be forced to switch out. I guess he does not have the Baton Pass, as he goes into Reuniclus, and his Reuniclus does take the spikes damage, so it is not Magic Guard, and Maran notices that, goes right for the Toxic, as it's looking like this might be a Light Clay Reuniclus, as it goes for its dual screens here. Now, losing his Naga already really sucks, because Maran said how threatening the Naga was against him, so had he still had his Naga, like perhaps the Stone Edge didn't miss and things played differently, if he still had Naga potentially behind the screens, the combination of Naga and Excadrill in Sand would have been really, really annoying for Maran's team to deal with. But here, he's just going to explode with his Reuniclus, which is kind of cool. Go back into his Gigalith to get the Sand up, and now he goes right into his Excadrill as he goes for the Sword, since this is kind of his last-ditch effort, as that Leaf Blade does not do that much. Now, I didn't really think much of it because I thought maybe he's just an unboosted Kartana hitting behind screens. Like, it probably wouldn't kill an Excadrill, especially if he's got some bulk investment. But as you're going to see, he goes for a +2 Excadrill, +2 Earthquake, and he knocks him into berry range with only doing 71%, which is crazy because Excadrill has base 135 attack. That's a ton of attack, and Earthquake is a really strong stab move. So the fact that that was only able to do 71%, and it actually procs the Kartana's Berry, is really, really good prep on Maran's part, as that, I believe, is a max Fizz Def Kartana, and all of Ice's hopes were kind of put into this Excadrill right now, because his Lopunny is weakened, and he's still got the healthy Sigilyph, and he lost his Naga, so his Excadrill is definitely his win con here, so things are not looking very good for Ice right now, as after taking that second Leaf Blade, it looks like he's just pretty much in range of a Mawile Sucker Punch, and like this Mawile could clean up because the Reflect has gone down. He could just click Sucker here, and Ice does just end up taking the Sucker Punch, going down, brings in the Lopunny as he goes for the high jump kick, and that doesn't even come close to knocking him out. He would have needed a crit to be able to take him out there, and now the Mawile is most likely going to outspeed the Gigalith and knock it out. So big victory for Maran, but that one was heavily influenced by the Stone Edge miss. Like, obviously, I'm not saying that entirely costed the game for Ice, because, you know, maybe Maran still would have been able to pull it out. Like, he's prepped really well and he played great, but that Stone Edge miss was extremely costly because Gigalith is another Pokemon like Excadrill that has an insane attack stat, and Stone Edge is a strong move, so even if he was uninvested, that would have done a ton to Roserade, because that was obviously an offensive variant. Like, he might have had some bulk on there, but I don't think he was taking that Stone Edge very well, and I think there's a good chance that he got knocked out with the Stone Edge plus the Sand. And if not, maybe he only would have had one more hit left in him, which would have allowed Ice to likely get out of there without losing a Pokemon, as maybe he could have pivoted in his Tangrowth and not just got blown away. Like, even if he took a big Leaf Storm and took over 50, he could just regenerate that health off by switching out on the next turn. But that's not how it played out, unfortunately. So, great game to Maran, though. Like I said, he did fantastic. It just was definitely an unfortunate miss. But, you know, I know that's the game that we play, and that's just what we say most of the times, but it does really stink, considering Ice has had a great season, and it's all just kind of come down to a miss like that. So, all things being said, congratulations to Maran. He goes on to face John W. next week, who was the number 1 seed. This was a 4 versus 5 game, and yeah, that should be an interesting one because I don't think they played earlier in the season either. I think Maran actually played Jolt week 1, and Jolt's team was the one that John ended up taking over because Jolt was just too busy to play. So now we will move on to the next game that was played, which is Based Carnage, otherwise known as IA, or II rather, versus Blitzburg, otherwise known as Blitz. Now these guys are both in the Y Conference, and they have had really strong seasons. I did get to play for week 8, but because I had already secured the bye and there's a good chance we were going to play in the playoffs because the winner of this plays me, we just brought memes because we just kind of, obviously, like I said, we had a good chance to play each other, and also it's just nice to kind of have a little bit of a break week. But I didn't get to play Blitz either, so I would love to get to play either of these guys. Like, I'm happy that these are the 2 that I would get to play, because I did play Evan earlier in the season, so if he won, and let's say I had to face him, that would be a rematch. I haven't gotten to face Parker, though, but I have faced him in the past, where both of these guys I haven't played before. Actually, no. I think I have played both of these guys in tournaments, like, a long time ago, but I've never really played them in a serious league or anything like that, so it would have been cool to play one of them, which I will be able to do. So they both have really, really offensive teams. Blitz having both the Lele Mega Zamcore plus Hawlucha, which is insanely threatening, whereas II has Ash Greninja, Kyurem Black, Mega Diancie, Jirachi, amazing Fairy Dragon Steel Core. He's been using Ash Greninja really, really well this season, which is a Pokemon that I feel like is difficult to use and probably not worth the price that we have it at, but I has definitely been making it look like a real, real threat, especially because it fits his playstyle so well, being a really offensive playstyle. So we will get right into this game as, like I said, the winner faces me, so I was definitely really interested to see who was going to win this one, as I leaves right with his Mega Diancie, goes right for a Moonblast on the Suicune, and Blitz just clicks the Safe Scald, and he gets the burn turn 1, and that's definitely bad for I. Perhaps he shouldn't have risked that there, but he probably knew he could live a Scald, so he just was, felt it was worth getting some damage off. But here, Blitz makes kind of a questionable play. I know he doesn't have, like, the greatest switch-ins on paper to this Serena, but going right into Hawlucha on a potential knockoff, which he does go right for the knockoff, removing the Psychic Seed. Like, just look at I's team here. If he had the +1 Spadef boost, then it's harder for an Ash Greninja with Water Shuriken to pick off a Hawlucha. And then Hawlucha outspeeds, hits Kyurem Black super effectively, hits Serena super effectively, hits Mega Diancie really hard with a fighting move, or he could pack like a steel move too. Hits Jirachi really hard if he's at +2 especially. And we don't know what kind of Savali it is, but like I said, the Greninja could pick it off pretty easily, or can't pick it off as easily because of the Psychic Seed special defense boost. So here he's just kind of forced to, like, Swords Dance up with the Hawlucha as he brings in his Silvally Fairy, and the Acrobatics does do a lot, but he is just going to be able to go for the multi-attack and knock him out. As here, Blitz brings in his Kartana and goes right for a Smart Strike. This does 43, which does a pretty good amount, as I actually has the eject button on the Serena, which is really cool. He's been making pretty good use of eject button this season, as it gives him a lot of momentum for his like I said, high-powered offensive team, and going right into the Ash Greninja here, which he just clicks U-turn, expecting the switch, not wanting to lose his Kartana so early, and now brings in the Kyurem Black on the Suicune, as Blitz just ends up staying right in, takes the Fusion Bolt pretty well, and goes right for the rest here. Definitely a risky play. And here's another risky play, as he just stays in with the Suicune. Like, I don't really know what he was hoping for here, other than like a Scald Burn, because obviously that's a low chance, because it's a 1 in 3 chance of getting a Scald, and then basically a 1 in 3 chance of getting a Burn. So that was definitely kind of risky, especially when he's got something like Registeel in the back. But I think you're going to see why in a little bit he wouldn't want to just send in the Registeel, as he does send it here, and that does only 27%. And he switches into his Serena, and now he doubles into Tapu Lele, which is a really, really good play, giving him some pretty good offensive initiative. But I goes into his Jirachi, revealing the Psychic Seed. Easily takes that Psychic, because it's quad resisted plus had the special defense boost and gets up his rocks, but now you see that his Registeel is actually packing the curse, which is probably why he wasn't too keen on risking the Registeel, as now he's able to knock off those leftovers with the Serena, which is definitely going to help him deal with this Registeel. But this Registeel is looking like a major threat right now because Registeel is just crazy bulky, and I does not have a Pokemon above ground, so Earthquake hits everything. So here he's going to reveal the Endeavor on Diancie, which he has been running quite a bit this season, and Blitz gets the rest off, and it's going to switch out because he could just stay in there and keep spamming Endeavor, putting himself in a pretty good position. So here, he's able to pick off the Suicune, but not without going down to 6, meaning he only has one more hit left in him. And now he's going to go right into the Jirachi as the Alakazam comes in. Traces the Serene Grace and goes right for the Dazzling Gleam, predicting the Greninja to come in. And just goes for Shadow Ball here, which does a lot of damage, but I is able to get off a Body Slam, which is a good bring as it's able to slow down Blitz's really offensive team, perhaps things like Alakazam and Hawlucha, as Jirachi tank hits from both of those. Goes right for the Shadow Claw, gets a crit, which I really doubt mattered, as now Blitz is able to bring in his Kartana. And I is going to bring in his Serena, which is taking a lot from these Smart Strikes, but it doesn't look like it'd be banded damage, because banded probably would 2 KO Serena, even if he is physically defensive. But now he's going to pivot hard into his Greninja, and Blitz makes the risky play by staying in with the Kartana here, expecting the U-turn, and is able to get the +1 attack boost. So now he's forced to bring in the Greninja. He's just going to have to attack, going for the Dark Pulse. That does very, very little to that Registeel. So this Registeel is looking like a major threat, because the only thing that I could really do to damage this right now is Endeavor it, which he only has one more Endeavor before his Diancie goes down, as unless he has like Aromatherapy on the Serena that he hasn't revealed yet, he won't be able to remove that status condition from Diancie. So this Registeel is looking like a massive threat, as I'm going to start speeding it up here because we're going to get a lot of this just rest, sleep, talk stalling, as I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that Kyurem can get special defense drops on Registeel with Earth Power through the Clear Body ability because of Kyurem having Mold Breaker, but he doesn't get any, so I'm not 100% sure on that. Like I even says in the chat here, like, where's my drop? So I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think he ever gets one. So as you're going to see, yeah, he still hasn't gotten one, as he just keeps setting up, keeps stalling him out. He gets a crit there, but no drop. Yeah, no drop. And here eventually he switches out, goes into the Lele. Lele could tank a Scarf, Earth Power pretty easily, and he's just going to get a little more damage on it, but knock him out with the Moonblast. His Moonblast was pretty much netting a kill there. So now he brings in the Greninja, just stays in, lets this go down to the lets his Lele go down to the Greninja, allowing him to reveal the Ash form. But the thing is, it's just so weak that he's not able to knock out the Registeel here, and he's able to get off another rest. So this is looking not so great for I right now, because the only thing, like I said, he could do to get this Registeel low is Endeavor it, and what he's going to have to do is basically get the Endeavor off while the Registeel is asleep, so he can't just rest off the next turn. So that's going to be pretty hard for him to pull off, because he also risks switching in his Diancie on him actually getting an Earthquake roll. So this is going to be kind of hard for I to pull off here. So I'm just going to speed it up as we just kind of get a lot of this. And now here he goes in and literally just was like stalling out PP, but now he's going to like run out of Synthesis after he gets off enough Smart Strikes, which he does, but he gets himself to a high enough range where he could just knock off twice and take that thing out. But here he's out of Synthesis, and he's just going to bring in his Greninja as he rests, as he goes for the Dark Pulse. I think he should have switched back there into Diancie, trying to get the Endeavor off, hoping that he just didn't get the lucky Earthquake roll, as that was more of his only way to win, because now he's not in range of any Diancie move. As here he just goes for Endeavor, which I guess none of his moves critting could have knocked out the Registeel from here, as he's able to go for the Earthquake. And after, how many turns was that? 79 turns. Blitz emerges the victor So that was a crazy game. Lots of like interesting prep and wild plays, and it ended up working out for Blitz in the end because I just really had nothing for this Registeel. Like the Diancie having Endeavor was a good way to keep this Registeel low and keep it under control, but he risked it turn 1 and allowed it to get the burn. So that definitely came into play big here because his Diancie was not able to get an Endeavor off while the Registeel was asleep, allowing him to pick off the Registeel with another Pokemon. So great game, great seasons on both of these guys' part. I will be going against Blitz next week, so that should be a fun one because, like I said, I haven't played him in a really long time, and he's been having a fantastic season with a really, really scary team. And my team is not particularly defensive, so I, really, I'm not looking forward to facing things like Lele Mega Zam, and he has other great mons like Crocodile, Rotom Heat. The Hawlucha obviously is a big threat to pretty much any offensive team, so that should be an interesting game. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Congratulations to Blitz, and congrats also to I always say IA, but II on an amazing season. So finally here we have the final game of the first round of the UDL playoffs, which is my boy Carson, my co-commissioner, going up against none other than the GOAT of the draft format, AkkiVGC. I do not know how to say it. I think it's like Akki, but like he always tells me I say it wrong, but I know it's not Akki. I know it's not Akki. So I think it's like AkkiVGC. That sounds nice. AkkiVGC. It's kind of like rolls right off the tongue. It's nice and smooth. Could jam out to some nice R&B with, I don't know. But anyway, both of these guys have really cool teams. Akki has to go Akki has to go against his beloved Blasian Oyster, Tapu Fini, and Carson has the Mega Metagross here, which Akki does not have great switch-ins to. So we'll see, because there's a lot of cool Pokemon here. You got Mega Gallade, you got Raikou, you have Diggersby, you have Volcarona, which Akki he literally makes that thing look like a #1 draft pick. Not even first round, like #1, with how many people he bodies with that Pokemon. So this should be an interesting matchup because both of these guys bring really creative prep. I mean, like, when you look at Akki's builds, you're not going to find many more, like, detail-oriented, creative, well-constructed builds than his. And Carson is someone who really is not afraid to be extremely bold in prep, and that is something that has netted him a lot of success this season, and it's been well-deserved. So let's see who's going to win, my fellow Rushmore brethren or my fellow Commissioner brethren. I'm excited. I'll be happy if either of them win because, like I said, they're both close friends of mine. And we will get right into this game as Carson's going to lead with the Mega Metagross as Akki leads with the Volcarona, and Carson makes the really bold move of just subbing right into Volcarona's face, as here he pivots right back into the Volcarona as he goes for Hammer Arm and does not get the Flame Body Burn, which I don't think he can get behind the sub. As here he reveals that he's actually faster with the Volcarona by U-turning, which is not that surprising because Carson has typically ran very bulky Metagrosses this entire season. So I wouldn't just guess that that's a Scarf Flame or a Scarf Volcarona, because like I said, Carson's been running very bulky Metagross the entire season. So he goes right for the sub and now goes right for his Zen Headbutt, and he misses here, which is really, really unfortunate, as I believe that with just like a little more chip, like one round of Stealth Rocks or something, Carson was saying actually knocked out the Gallade based on Akki's spread. So that is a very, very unfortunate miss because he's in such a great position right now. To miss that major Zen Headbutt right there is definitely lane for Carson, as here he's going to pivot right back into the Ferrothorn, which is going to get some chip damage. He does not get any boost or anything like that. Goes for the Hammer Arm, and it turns out this Ferrothorn is pretty physically defensive as it takes it quite well, only taking 60%, but the Gyro doesn't even break the sub. Metagross is so ridiculous. I think Akki forgot to calc with minus speed, which I think is why he went for the Gyro, thinking he could break the sub. And he goes for another Meteor Mash, does not get the boost, but now he brings in the Valk again, and he's actually forced to switch out here because a Bug Buzz would go through the sub, and I guess probably take out the Metagross from here, or definitely has the potential to, depending on Aki's set. So he switches out here, goes into the Feeny, and it turns out he just goes for the U-turn, as he doesn't have Bug Buzz, and if he does, maybe he just wouldn't have knocked him out. So here he goes into the Pex, gets up his T-Spikes, as the Celebi comes in, gets up the Stealth Rocks, goes hard into the Raikou, which doesn't get poisoned due to the misty terrain, and takes the U-turn. The Crocodile comes in here, and it turns out the Crook is Scarfed, gets the Earthquake off, but the Shuca Berry allows Raikou to take the attack and get off the Aura Sphere. It does not KO the Crook, but that definitely is nice, being able to weaken the Crook, as especially if the Metagross was still healthy, that really would come in clutch, as here he's able to take that Earthquake pretty well and then get a return off with the Diggersby. The Gallade comes in, he's able to pivot into the Buzzwole, as this thing can take hits from Gallade, even including Zen Headbutt fairly easily. But the Toxic is really going to make it a lot more difficult, as here he goes for the Zen Headbutt as he pivots into the Celebi, and Aki's going to predict him to switch out here and either into his Feeny or the Buzz, as he actually goes right for the Healing Wish, bringing the Metagross. And now he pivots back into the Buzzwole, not wanting the Metagross to get weakened, because he was able to take out the Crocodile. So here, Metagross has an amazing matchup, but is, still dangerous to... That's why it's dangerous to let him just get weakened by the Gallade. As he goes into the Buzzwole here, goes for the Earthquake on the Torn switch in, and is in range of the Heat Wave. As here, he brings in the Metagross, hoping that he'd pivot out, but it turns out that he just stays in and goes for the Heat Wave, which now he's able to defog away, getting these rocks off the field as the Volcarona, and just helping the Torn out in general. As this Calm Mind Feeny probably isn't going to be able to do quite too much here now that it's poisoned, as it does get a big chunk off on the Torn, but he could just U-turn out, go right into the Pex, and now you're about to see some heat, as he's just going to go right for the Surf and actually outspeed the Feeny and get a critical hit. And that wasn't just any critical hit. This is a Scarf Merciless Toxic Spikes Toxapex. So he gets up his own T-Spikes, switches out, and then just crits everything with a Scarf Toxapex. That's right. That is the ingenuity that is AkkiVGC, as here he goes right for the Encore on the Substitute Metagross, which was kind of Carson's last chance of bringing himself back into this game, as he's just kind of forced to keep subbing here. There's nothing he can really do, as he sacks off the Diggersby, and this close combat actually is enough to take out the Metagross from here, allowing Aki to pick up the 4-0 win, in which was a really good game. It was just really unfortunate that he missed his Zen Headbutt earlier, because this Gallade played a pretty big role that otherwise it may not have, had he been able to get that Zen Headbutt off. Even if it didn't kill, it might have been in range of rocks, or it just would have been in range of things like a Bullet Punch if he had it, or a Quick Attack on Diggersby. So definitely a very unfortunate miss, but a great game nonetheless. These two both had really, really good seasons, and I'm looking forward to see how they do going forward. We're seeing how Aki does going forward, as he will be going on to get a rematch against Ben, someone he lost to the first game of the season. So that should be interesting, as as the first game of the season, it didn't seem like Aki was as sold on this league yet, but as time went on, he really started to fall in love with this league and start to realize there's a lot of good people in this league, good players. So he's definitely going to go all out in this next game versus Ben, and I'm sure Ben is going to do the same, as he knows just how good Aki is. So congratulations to Carson on a fantastic season, and congratulations to AkkiVGC, the one and only, the GOAT, on his impressive win week 1, bringing Scarf Merciless Toxapex. I hate Toxapex, but I was rooting for Toxapex to put in work in this game because of how great that set was. So I've spent enough time here. I was hoping this video wouldn't be a full 40 minutes, but I guess 4 replays is kind of tough to narrate that quickly if you want to give a halfway decent narration. So I hope for anyone who's watching this, you guys enjoyed. I'll try to do the same for the next coming weeks. Maybe I'll have Carson join me if he's around. But if not, then yeah, I just wanted to do something for the league to kind of get people a little more invested in just the league itself, the regular season, the playoffs, just giving people more of an incentive to play and to do well, as they can get featured on the channel, even though, like I said, we have basically no subscribers, and we're not really looking to grow the channel or anything like that. This is just for fun amongst ourselves. But like I said, to whoever watched, I hope you enjoyed. to all the competitors here, congrats on a fantastic season, and if you won your game, congrats on moving on to the next round. And that will wrap this video up. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have yourselves a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.